Sylvia Day. I am here to answer all of the questions that we asked you for on my Facebook page. Patty, it came from a real man, which I know that gets people really excited when they find out that there is a Gideon cross and he is alive and well and lives in Manhattan, which is only 26 miles long, and you would think that that's a very small pool in which you can find him. I have been looking for him again for the last few years and have yet to stumble across him, but I wish everybody, happy hunting in doing so. What happened was I was in New York for business, and I was walking from one appointment to the other, and I was halfway down the street when this young man walked out of an office building in front of me, wearing the classic three-piece suit that Gideon Cross wears with that beautiful hair, fantastic smile. And he came out, stopped on the street, and managed to stop everybody else on the street as well. I couldn't move, and neither could the women on the other side of him as he flipped through his BlackBerry and did whatever business was that he was doing. And then shortly after, he walked to the curb and slid into the back of a town car and drove off. So he lived in my imagination for the next few years, and when I sat down to write Gideon, there he was. The answer is I really don't. I'm writing all the time, every day. It's something that I actually can't not do. It seems like there's a long break between books, and I'm sorry for that. And I will admit that, at the start of my career, typically my release schedule was 3 to 4 full-length novels in a year. And of course, as time has gone on, that's slowed down to 2 novels a year, and that's where I'm at right now. That has a lot to do with just the amount of time that other aspects of the business consumes. It doesn't have anything to do with the amount of time that I spend writing, which hasn't shifted all that much. Some authors put out a book once every 5, 6, 7 years, so 2 a year is really not that bad, although it may not be as fast as you'd like me to. Well, right now, as I've been for the last few years, I'm completely consumed with the Crossfire series, and until the final book in that series, One With You, releases, it will remain my primary focus. So that's where I'm at right now. That said, I am still looking ahead and working on just the basic mental ideas of what will be happening in the Blacklist series, which is the series that will launch after Crossfire, that features 2 new characters that you haven't met before, Lily and Kane, and we're going to follow them over the course of 2 books and several years, which is different, of course, from Crossfire, which is a day-by-day following of Gideon and Ava. So I'm excited about the shift to a different timeline in a story and different characters, and I think you'll be excited to meet them too. Hi, Vanessa. Actually, it's just second nature to me. If you ask friends and family, if they try to come in and talk to me when I'm working, I absolutely have no idea that they're even in the room, that they're talking to me. It's absolutely worthless to try to have a conversation with me when I'm at the computer. I will not hear you or process anything that's said. It's just one of those things where once I'm in the depth of a story and I'm fully consumed by it, I mean, really, I forget to eat, I forget to sleep. It's pretty much just dehydration that will get me out of the chair to get something to drink. So it's just second nature. Hi, Begs. No, actually, and it's not just family really that question applies to. That would also be reviewers, critics, readers. I mean, I can't think about what the response to something I've written is while I'm writing it, because if I do that, then I'm focusing on something outside of the story. And of course, you can't make everybody happy. Really, at the end of the day, I have to write the story that I love, the one that connects the most to me, that I'm emotionally invested in, and then hope that it finds an audience with the same taste that I do. And if I do that, that's the story that I'm meant to tell, not one that I think that somebody else wants me to say. And that's really one of those questions like asking which one of my children are my favorites. I mean, I really can't do that. That said, The Stranger I Married wrote itself, which is one of those books where I just sat down, it completely poured out, And in a matter of weeks, it was finished, and I loved it. And actually, when I turned it into my editor, she said, "Don't change a word." So I didn't even have to do any edits on it. So I would say that was probably the most joyous book that I've written, but I really can't name a favorite. Now, I have to say that when I was here a little less than 2 years ago, I did check off most of the things that I had on my list of things to do in Australia, which was to hold a koala bear, to scuba dive off the Great Barrier Reef. Those things, I was able to do once and would happily do again. This time around, if I could manage to fit the koala into my suitcase, that will be the goal of this trip here. It was conceived as a trilogy and was actually contracted to the publisher for a trilogy. So yes, there are 3 full-length novels in the Renegade Angel series. And of course, we only have 2 out at this point, which is A Touch of Crimson and A Hunger So Wild. The next book, A Taste of Seduction, is Sire's story, and I know everybody's been waiting for that. The issue with it is that the Renegade Angels is published by the same publisher who publishes Crossfire, and the demand for Crossfire is such that we feel that it probably would be best to finish the Crossfire series first and then release the last of the Renegade Angel series. So that's the plan at this point in time. As soon as I have a release date, it'll be on my website. You can stop by any time. And of course, if you sign up for the newsletter, we'll be sure to send you a note when we have the date. Authors that inspired me from the beginning were authors like Lisa Kleypas, who wrote beautiful historical romances. Also, Kathleen Woodiwiss was a huge inspiration for me at the start. They wrote these beautiful, sweeping historical sagas, and of course, when I first began being published, I was published in historical romance. I continue to write historical romance, so those 2 authors, they're on my keeper shelves, and I go back to them over and over again. As for when I started writing, I knew at 12 years old that I wanted to be a writer. I actually didn't sit down to write professionally until 2003. I sold my first novel in 2004, and my very first published work came out in 2005.